Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Yeah, that's right, I got one of these things. The strangest Gibson Custom Shop that Zakk Wylde made Gibson make. This is the SGV, sometimes referred to as the ZV, and this was the very last Zakk Wylde signature guitar that he did with Gibson Custom Shop. Because after this one, they went to do more affordable options with Gibson USA. So just as a quick recap of every single Zakk Wylde model that was ever made through Gibson, there was the original, the Grail Bullseye Les Paul, and then there was the Camo Les Paul. I've done reviews on both of those. There's a Bullseye Flying V with a Floyd Rose, and then we get the SGVs. So there's this one, that's the orange Buzzsaw. Now Buzzsaw refers to this kind of zigzaggedy stripes. I'm not really sure the origin story of those, so if anybody can fill me in, that'd be great. Because that Camo one, I'd never understood why he wanted camo, but apparently that was done as a tribute to Dimebag Darrell. But you can get this in both this variation as well as the traditional Bullseye look. Then from Gibson USA, we have the Moderne of Doom, the Vertigo USA Les Paul Custom, and then you had the two BFG models with the Buzzsaw as well as the Bullseye variations. And then he had a whole slew of Epiphones as well. Behind Slash, Zakk Wylde is the #2 signature guitar guy. I don't know, maybe Joe Bonamassa might be catching up with him. But hey, love him or hate him, Zakk Wylde definitely created his own style. And Zakk has partnered with Schecter to create his own brand of guitars called Wild Audio, so you'll never see another Gibson collaboration with him, unless Gibson goes back to him now that they're under new management and makes it up to him. But, you know, once you start your own company, I really don't see signature guitars happening anymore. And if you're not familiar, he's played with Ozzy, and he also has his own band, Black Label Society. I'm sure you've heard of this guy, so let's talk about this guitar. Okay, so as the name implies, SGV, he's mixed an SG with a flying V and just kind of mashed them together and created this thing. And I just love the Gibson description of this. They're like, yeah, you might like it. It's a crazy guitar. And that's the way I've always felt about these. I love kooky Gibson guitars, right? And I love the fact that he made them make this, because getting Gibson to do something that is not a regular Les Paul shape, SG, you know, the traditional tried and true things, I mean, it takes a lot of effort for them to make these things. And if the body shape and paint job wasn't weird enough, you get 3 controls in a line right here with your output jack there, but your toggle switch is here. It's kind of interesting. I'm wondering if he's thinking that he's doing a nice solo on the neck pickup and then he just needs to go boop straight to the bridge. So I guess for that, it does make sense if you want to do this instead of this. But that is definitely one of those features that make you go, huh, interesting. So this was a limited edition run in 2008, and they only made 50 of them. However, this is not one of those. This one is a little bit more special. It's an artist proof, number 5. Okay, so artist proofs can actually mean different things for different runs. It could mean that it is a prototype, one of the ones that they sent to him to get his approval. Then he says, oh, I want the neck to be a little bit thinner, or hey, how about we try a maple fretboard or something. It could have been one of those, but the story that I was told from these by a Gibson Custom Shop employee is that there were 7 of them. And they were meant to be his, but there was some sort of a falling out between them on this particular run, and he never ended up getting his guitars, or maybe they gave him something else as his payment. The history is not 100% certain on these artist proofs, but what I can tell you for certain is all the artist proofs were sold to Gibson employees. That's why if you go to Reverb right now, there's a few of them for sale. Basically, when an employee buys a guitar, they have to hold on to it for at least a year. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. But that's why you saw 3 of these show up at the exact same time. Zakk's not having a fire sale of his own guitars. But yeah, this is artist proof number 5. I figured, hey, if we're going to review and document one of these, why not get something even a little bit more special than the 50 production run units? So first impressions, I mean, holding this thing, it's not quite as strange as you would think. I mean, this feels a little bit wider than a regular Flying V. They've certainly changed up the contours of the SG and Flying V shape to make them more pointy as well. So even though it's an SG and a Flying V mixed, it's it's still a little bit different at the same time. And with Gibson mainly being classic shapes, having them produce something so bizarre and wild, you have to be a super famous guy to get them to do this. Believe me, I've tried. As far as playing it, I mean, it's just bigger than a regular Gibson, that's for sure, but the neck feels right. It's a nice chunky neck profile. I mean, everything here is just fine. It doesn't get freaky until down here. So I guess let's go ahead and throw this thing on the workbench and take an individual look at its parts and specs. Zakk Wylde, you're a madman. All right, here we go, inside the SGV. So this is a solid mahogany body. They didn't do any crazy weight relief or anything. It wouldn't even surprise me if they made it out of one piece. I do not see any seam lines. Sometimes you can see that hiding through the finish, but I can see the wood grain if you look just right. But as far as your pickups, it's what's always in the Zakk Wylde signatures. EMG, 85 in the neck and an 81 in the bridge. And that's just based off of a quick connect system, so if you wanted to put some other type of EMG pickups in here, you could. But what I find rather fascinating is this does have a long neck tenon, but when they sprayed this finish, it actually goes within the cavity. So that tells you that's not just some sort of graphic they put over top of this. This is somehow a finish. My best guess at how they did this finish is they sprayed the whole thing black, and then they put some sort of like a metal template on top of the guitar, and then they sprayed that orange because that would mask off the areas that they didn't want to turn orange. And the bridge is actually a Nashville style bridge, and it's all black hardware on this guy. Then everything down here is pretty much like a Carina styled flying V. So you get the V style tailpiece, meaning this is a string through model. That's kind of interesting. And I like the way that this screw is actually the center point of the entire guitar. Because I guess they could have chose to do the point right here, but they decided that screw. It kind of looks like a spaceship flying into who knows where it's flying into. But you've got a neck volume control, a bridge volume control, and a master tone. And your output jack is located over here, and it's secured by 3 little screws with the metal plate. And again, your toggle switch is over here in no man's land. And within the circuit, the bridge pickup reads 7.56 k ohms, and your neck pickup, about the same, 16.69. As far as the edge of the body, they do have a contour along this entire thing. So it's not, sharp like a flying V. It's got a little bit more of a ledge to it right here. And at the same time, down here, it's pokier than a flying V, but still not like a super sharp Jackson point or anything. It's still rounded off. And a lot of these artist proofs were kind of kicking around at the Gibson Custom Shop for a while. Apparently, with outside of their cases, or I'm mixing stories up, so you'll see quite a few of these do have some sort of a touch-up or some nicks and dings to them. One of them on Reverb actually does have a seam line showing, so maybe not all of them were one piece, or maybe some of them just hide it better than others. But that contoured edge is always black here. They really only painted that top plane on these. Well, there you go. That's the inside of the SGV. It's interesting to see this little cavity because that's where they had to take this toggle switch into to get it to all these other locations. You can kind of see some of those wires going up around there into the loop-de-loop and all the way back down here into there. Oh, that's funny. You're probably wondering, why don't they just run it across the bridge pickup cavity? It's because then your pickup wouldn't fit. But moving on from the mahogany body, we still have an ebony fretboard because this was made in 2008 before the whole rich light stuff started to happen. And it's a 3-piece maple neck, which is very common on pretty much every single Zakk Wylde signature. His original Les Paul Custom just happened to be from the Norland era. It had the maple neck, so it just kind of stuck with them. So out of all the features of every single Zakk Wylde guitar, that's what I give respect to the most because he represents the Norland era to me. His actually first Gibson guitar was a VSG in Pelham Blue. Let's go ahead and grab our neck specs. 1.68 inches at the nut, and it looks like about 2.04 by the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.85, and at the 12th, 0.98. This is a really rounded, chunky feeling neck. And if you're curious about the scale length, it's just your standard 24 3/4 inches. As far as the face of the headstock, it's kind of like a SG Custom, I guess you would say, unless they also want to blend a Les Paul into all of this. Oh, but you just get a blank truss rod cover, and our truss rod's in good shape here, and once again, the custom emblem with the multiply binding. Oh, that would have been interesting had they had bound this. I'm not quite sure how they would do that. Maybe what would be cool is if we put a flame maple top. You're going to cover over most of it, but then you could still see the flamed edges. Now that would be cool, because you can get a very similar shape to this within the Wylde audio offerings. So if you don't have the like $5,000 to $8,000 for one of these things for the collectability factor of them, you can check out a more affordable option through them. Moving on to the back, man, did they cram so much stuff inside of this little control cavity. So active pickups mean you have to have a 9-volt battery, sometimes even 2. But stock from the factory, they just really cram that in there, like it barely just fits. And then they have this little foam layer on top of that, just in case the battery does leak, you don't destroy your electronics. And you know, this does not actually look like a quick connect system. It looks like they decided to directly solder them onto there, so only the pickup connectors at the base are actually quick connect. I'm surprised they didn't go as far as just doing another small route just for this, because that really does not even fit. Like, I have to really push this in there. Oh, silly guitar. And then over here, we get our toggle switch little cavity. Note that there's only 2 screws. Usually these circular ones get 3. But here's what the back plates look like. But even back here, I'm not seeing any seam lines underneath the paint, so maybe this is a lucky one that's one piece. I mean, that'd be a giant piece of mahogany to carve up, but I guess only time will tell. But moving on here to the back of the neck. Once again, 3 pieces maple. This one actually has some pretty decent flame figuring up that middle strip. So this actually still has a finish over top of it. I think they just oil it. I mean, it still kind of feels like a gloss finish to me, but like not as highly polished. But not quite satin, but maybe it started satin and then it just kind of got buffed. I'm not really sure. I never had one of these things brand new. I wasn't into guitars at the time. But he likes to transition from this natural finish into a stinger to get it the black headstock. So we got black regular Grover tuners. You get your little Zakk Wylde guy here. And then for our serial number, instead of having the model identification and then what number it is out of 50, it's just handwritten AP number 5, artist proof number 5. All said and done, this thing just weighs slightly under 8 pounds. It is a comfortable guitar, surprisingly enough. It's not overly heavy or anything, but I think that's because they use some really choice mahogany on these guys. So, yeah, I'm kind of sorry if I wasn't overly enthusiastic with this review. This is the one Zakk Wylde signature guitar I just don't really get behind, but I do appreciate that it exists, because getting Gibson Custom Shop to have to make this, that's just funny. But there are people out there that love this design, so I can't wait to, plug this in and hear how it sounds, because maybe it's one of those things you just have to have it in person and feel and hear how it sounds, because this one's actually already been spoken for. It's not for sale, so you can check out some of the other ones that are on Reverb. But he says he is a huge fan of this. So, hey, I'm not going to knock it until I try it, that's for sure. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. Now that we know all about the Zakk Wylde SGV, what are my final thoughts on this thing? You know, it never ceases to amaze me just how powerful Zakk Wylde's signature guitars feel. Once you plug them in and start playing some of his style riffs, you know, the best that you can anyways, yeah, they're just a lot of fun. So I do have a newfound respect for this model. However, it's not my favorite Zakk Wylde guitar, that's for sure. Still sounds like one, but I would vastly prefer either his Bullseye or the camo Bullseye guitar because, you know, it's a little bit more my style, but I absolutely love the fact that he made the custom shop make these things. I was actually kind of surprised to find that this thing, despite the gigantic body, is a little bit neck heavy. But if you're standing with it like this, it will balance, but if you're trying to play like this, that's when it starts to slide a little bit. So it's not like super uncomfortable to play by any means, and it's really easy to balance by just having your arm right here. I guess that is one nice thing about this design, is you have this nice little shelf for your arm, because I know he's always anchored here, so that'd be really comfortable for his playing style. And I guess the more and more I think of this like an EDS 1275, you know, the double necks, the more it makes sense within Gibson territory, because those are about the same size as this thing. They feel really big and wide, except for we just don't have the double neck situation going on. So you can try to justify this guitar that way. But I'm glad I got to check one out, because this is definitely not a Gibson model that you see every day. Would I suggest it to everyone? Definitely not. This is more so a collector's piece or somebody that just happens to like freaky pointy guitars that Gibson made, because there's not a lot of those. So let's go ahead and check it out under blacklight real quick. This thing actually looks pretty cool under blacklight. It's starting to glow just a little bit, so it kind of mutes that orange color. But you can see, once again, as I was talking about, there are a few touch-ups along the edges. Mainly because, you know, this is a gigantic guitar. I think he said the case came down on it, or it just kind of rubbed in the case, so he decided that he wanted to touch it up. Because I had purchased this from the guy that works at the custom shop that brought me back my guitars from that one luthier. And at least about half of the guitars anyways. Who knows if we'll ever see those other ones. But we're still hopeful for that. Maybe there will be a happy conclusion, but at least it got those high-end guitars back. But no breaks, cracks, and repairs on this one. Just a few finished touch-ups. Let's go ahead and check out the case. This thing is just gigantic. It's probably about the same size as an EDS 1275, honestly. But you get the Zakk Wylde Bullseye on the outside, which doesn't really make sense considering this is the Buzzsaw, but whatever. Then Gibson Custom here. Just 3 latches though. 2 regular ones on the outside and a locking combo lock here, with a single handle, and the interior is just white and completely form-fitting for this very unique styled guitar. And inside here, we can take a look at some of the case candy. Oh, I miss the days when Gibson cases were made in Canada, at least all of them. Looks like a combo lock paper, customer care guide, the original hang tag that was on the guitar, the thing that used to be attached to the case. Oh cool, we get a little picture of him with the limited run of 100 of the Bullseye ones. I think I like that version better than the Buzzsaw, but here's the pre-pack checklist. Warranty information, I doubt this thing ever had a real warranty, and of course the certificate of authenticity. I like the look at that, that's pretty cool. Now the only downside to getting an artist proof over a regular one is Zakk actually signed all the COAs for the regulars. But there we go, Zakk Wylde SGV Buzzsaw, AP number 5. Thank you, Troglodytes, for tuning in to this episode of the Trogly's Guitar Show. I hope you enjoyed learning about this strange guitar. Probably wasn't what you were expecting today, but it was a lot of fun anyways. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.